Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special match preview show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. After a disappointing result midweek, it's time for Liverpool to put their attention on the next fixture, and it's a huge one as they'll be facing Newcastle in the Carabao Cup Final at Wembley Stadium, or better known as Anfield South. So it's only right that I bring on a special guest to the show to discuss the game in more detail, and that's my good friend Dubul Dee from D&D Football Factory. Dubul Dee, welcome back to the channel. How have you been?
Big up, broski. Up. I'm here, mate. Thanks for having me back. Always a pleasure. But
Appreciate
yeah, not the best result to come in on the back of. But we
it.
have a big game on Sunday, so I say no time to dwell. But
Yeah.
yeah,
We got to
we need
talk
to
about
get
it,
done.
man. We haven't spoken about, so we need to touch on it in terms of what happened a few days ago. Give me your thoughts on the defeat. Do you think they deserve to go through? Give me your sort of thought process in terms of what happened on that evening.
Overall, it's such an annoying one. But overall, you have to look, penalties are a lottery, so anyone can win on penalties. But right, but in terms of the actual play over the 3 hours of football, you would have to say that PSG were better. That first leg, Allison pulled off some really good saves, probably mainly the save from Kvaratskhelia in the first half, in the first leg, because it looked like Allison was going one way and he was able to get back and then save
Yeah,
it. But as the game wore on, I did actually think that we could get a winner. There was a few opportunities that Salah had to slide people in, and the weight of pass was wrong, which he's been much better at in I'd say the last 2 seasons especially. It was something that we first associated with him when he came to us, but it had been much improved. But which is why the assists have increased. But the pass wasn't good, took him off, and then obviously Harvey came on and got the goal. So I thought we'd rolled the wave um, in the first leg from them. I was thinking that we were gonna take it home, to be honest, at Anfield, but the crowd seemed a bit from early on, and they were the better team in the first half. I thought in the second leg, just in the second half though, in normal time that is, I thought that
yeah,
we were better and we should have got the goal. There was the save from Kanate where they gave offside, but the replay showed it would have been on, and disallowed goals and whatnot. We were probing and we were trying something, but then we looked spent as it wore on after we started second half really well. So then once it got to extra time, it was the way they moved the ball in extra time. Like it's we've got workhorses in the midfield, but they can't keep the ball like PSG can, and at times it looked really bad. I would say only maybe when we played Chelsea in the league, Romeo Lavia did a job in there, and Chelsea moved the ball quite well in the midfield, so Shiseido, etc. And but they didn't really have attempts at target. But it was like PSG had that kind of hold on the midfield, but they got efforts in as well, in both obviously mainly the first leg. Um, and it just did go to show that though we have one hand on the Premier League trophy at the moment, a couple more wins will guarantee it.
yeah,
It still goes to show that though you're the champions of your country, you're not perfect. Improvements can be made, and in the summer, the board need to properly back Slot because they wouldn't have been thinking before the season started that he could win the league and he's won it. So they need to back him properly and adequately because they made this mistake with Klopp after we won the title. What we got, Thiago, um, and who I'm trying to think of who else we got in, but bar Thiago, but we didn't do too much. So
no,
here if you it's the case, well, we're going to talk about what looks like outgoings in a little bit, so I won't like use all of that up in this section here. But
yeah,
like, just because you might have money there, just say if we were to let Nunes go to Saudi, for instance, if you get that signing wrong, you're taking a step back. And with Arsenal getting, I forgot his name, but Arsenal getting Barker is his, I think his name is, getting him in. I expect them to be more ruthless in the transfer market. Um, City will come back. They've already started spending. It depends whether or not their case is dealt with now or not. So we know whether how
Yeah,
long they'll plan for and points deduction. But I don't expect them to be anywhere near as bad, etc. So Maresca will be back regardless as long as he's still there at Chelsea.
yeah,
So no season is the same, right? So therefore, no, or back-to-back seasons. Therefore, that's why Arsenal thought they'd be the next ones up with
yeah,
City not too well. So yeah, we got to look at things because we can't allow more of those games next season where the midfield gets outclassed like that. But yeah, I do think fatigue as well played a part in it. We were talking off camera. PSG made at least 7 changes to their lineup for their game on the weekend,
yeah,
and we've gone more or less as strong as you thought we would have gone. And I
yeah,
thought I thought he maybe would have rested Gravenberch, who we've run to the ground this season,
yeah,
and played and played Endo. For instance, I thought Harvey Elliott would have got a run out instead of Soberslide. I thought he would have made some subtle changes, and
yeah.
then if you're not getting the result, then bring them on because in
Bring
the
them
end,
on.
these players
Mm,
you need to bring on anyway because the first half was so poor. Curtis Jones, I was thinking, oh, good, Curtis getting the run out, dragged at half time, had the chance early on in the first minute, dragged at half time, and you could just see the difference in the energy levels. And then
yeah,
when you add their class to it, there were times when we couldn't get near them. So yeah, it's really disappointing. But if you told me before the start of the season we were going to win the Premier League, I would have taken it regardless of what happened in the cup
yeah,
competition. You get what I'm saying? So you can't be too downhearted. But we're here to review today because we have the
yeah.
chance to win a cup on Sunday. Innit? So let's get that done first and then go and
No, it's
and
very true. I think, yeah, if you had asked us earlier in the season, of course, we would have taken the Premier League all day long, just because we had a new coach at the time, who we weren't really too familiar with. So for us, it was like, you know what, we've got a new coach. It's going to be, big shoes to fill with Jurgen Klopp leaving last season. So it's always going to be sort of a transitional season for us. But I think we've definitely done well this season. I think we may have even overachieved, if I'm being honest with you, in terms
oh
of where we
oh,
are in the
you can say
league.
defo. Look. It was last season you said that you thought we'd win the league, innit? At the start, when I
Yeah,
spoke to you at the start, and even
yeah,
obviously on here when I wasn't here, you said that. But this season, none of us were really thinking league. We were thinking maybe third at best. Regardless of whether you knew about slot, whether we were thinking probably third at
yeah,
best, maybe a second. But to win it, none of us were saying that with chest. So default on that case is overachievement. None of the a bag of these pundits, 75% of these pundits never even had us in the top two.
yeah.
A lot of them never had us in the top three. There were some people on other podcasts, not pundits, but when you see clips from other podcasts, or you
Content
might
creators, yeah,
roll in, depending on your algorithm, you might roll in and watch another podcast. Some people had us in the sixth, seventh, or eighth.
yeah.
So they're eating a lot of humble pie right about now. And that's why,
They are.
rather than give us the praise that we deserve for what we've done in the league, isolated in the league, we've only lost one game still, and we are approaching mid March. And we don't play again in the league until April, do we? Because obviously, FA Cup and international break, and we've got the final Sunday. So we don't play again in the league until, if it's not late March, then it's the first week of April. And we've only lost one match. So, regardless if the other teams had been better, we'd
Yeah,
still be at the summit anyway. So like people are annoyed that they're bitter because obviously
yeah. So
their predictions are not coming to the fore in it, so they're talking down on us rather than
yeah,
giving us the praise that we deserve.
and that's what's annoying me as well, especially in the last few days where people are questioning the quality of the league now. That
Yeah,
um, this must be one of the poorest campaigns. That's what happened when we won the league 2 years ago. They're like, oh, it's probably the worst Premier League season ever.
yeah,
It's like whenever Liverpool is successful, you don't give us credit. You always feel like, oh, everyone else has sort of digressed and
yeah,
they've been worse. Whereas, no, Liverpool have been on top of their game. They performed to a certain level.
yeah.
Like you said, we've only lost one game, so we're not at the top of the table by fluke. And Arsenal fans are crying, saying, oh, we've had injuries, this and that. They've not spent a single day at the top of the table this season.
There you go.
So
they didn't look like that they were functioning at the level that they have in the previous two seasons,
yes,
even when the Sackers, etc., were fit.
they were never
But,
top once. So
but
you
yeah,
look, Brighton were at the top of the table more days than they were. So, you can't really just assume that just because you've challenged City over the years that automatically this is going to be your year. Because
exactly.
that's not what happened to us. We were challenging for years and years, and we had to put in our graft to even get that league title.
Yep,
So this is a team that, arguably probably one of the best teams in Premier League history. So
yep,
it wasn't an easy feat for us to, dislodge them for that season. And I feel like it's always disrespectful for Liverpool where fans are saying, "Oh, it's not a good league," or the teams are digressing. People are saying that, "Oh, Salah doesn't even deserve to be in the Ballon d'Or conversation," and because he's out of like it's like you
Ah,
know people were just waiting for this moment to happen, which it shows you how much we've progressed as a team, but also shows you how much hate there is for Liverpool. We
yep,
know as Liverpool fans that we always get hate from our rival, especially like our friends who are like Arsenal, United fans, but every team generally hates us. That's what I feel anyway. So it's like when I say it's us against the world, it does actually feel like that. So it's not just being emotional or thinking that we're a victim of our success. It actually does feel like that because whenever we do well and whenever we take the right strides, people are always quick to just knock us down or knock what we're doing right now. But look, in terms of what we're doing, I think we're in the right direction. We spoke off air as well about this, but we'll speak about it on the show now where Van Dijk made some comments after the
ooh,
match.
ooh.
And well, firstly, there was a video circulating after the game where he was speaking to the president of PSG, which is Nasser Al Khelaifi, and then Luis Ocampos as well,
Uh,
who is
uh,
the sporting director.
apparently,
Now,
he was just apologizing. Apparently, he was just
yes,
apologizing.
that's the gist of what I got. That he was apologizing to Luis Campos for the comments he made in the dugout last week in Paris, where he was fuming about the red card, and Van Dijk was like, "Look, this ain't Liga. Like, relax yourself." Um, but at the same time, he praised Luis Enrique and his team, suggesting they're one of the best teams he's faced in years, which is not a concern. The concerning part for me was the fact that he's basically said there's been no progress or zero progress with regards to his contract extension. Now, what do you make of all this? Are you concerned about our captain's future? Because I'll be brutally honest with you, for the first time, I'm quite worried about Van Dijk not signing a new contract. Not even just Van Dijk, Salah and Trent.
Yeah,
Trent, I think us fans already expecting him to
yeah.
leave.
I gave up on Trent. I gave up on
It's,
Trent signing a while ago. Sadly, man.
yeah,
His best buddy Jude has looks like
yeah,
he's ushered him to Madrid. But I did have a level of optimism that Salah and Van Dijk would sign, but it's looking more and more unlikely. People are getting, as well as obviously the Van Dijk comments, but it looks like, obviously in terms of him, as we've just said, talking to PSG and whatnot,
yeah.
it's meant to have been an apology, and not anything like that. But in terms of a player we should be worried about, there's more and more stuff coming through. Nothing from as tier one journalists as we'd say as Liverpool fans that Konate's open to move to PSG because he was disappointed with the opening contract offer from Liverpool. Um, so yeah, it's not it's not looking good all round, but it's disappointing. But yeah, as much as I'm annoyed at it, I'm not really what's I'm not really surprised. As much as I'm annoyed with it, I'm not really surprised to be perfectly honest because it just seems that a medium has to be found, a form of appeasement has to be found. At their ages, they both want a certain
Yeah.
amount of money, and FSG are not willing. The board are not willing to negotiate at that level, so they would have to drop their demands. But the level that they're both performing at the age that they're at now, I'd give them whatever it takes because you have an
Yes.
opportunity here if you add to what's already there adequately to put yourself in the frame to go back to back, to go even further in Europe. Um, and to add to the Paris Saint-Germain thing as well, it's annoying that they were off it in champs because we've gone out there and at to an extent, have risked our league campaign to win those 7 games to top the group, to
Yeah,
rotate for the 8th game, and then we end up with a team that we would have expected to get at the sheer minimum in the quarterfinals if we got
yeah,
that far. Whereas the likes of Villa and Arsenal, who were also in the top 8, have got easier ties than
easier
us.
ties.
It's really
Yeah,
annoying. You
yeah.
get me? If
There was
fair
no
enough,
pressure
if
of
it's
us
the old
winning.
if it's the old format, Oz, and
Yeah,
we come top of our group and then we
there's
PSG they
nothing we can
second in
argue
their
about
group,
that.
cool, I can argue about that. But this whole thing
Yeah,
stinks out of 36 teams and you end up with that in the last 16. Come on,
yeah.
man.
There was no benefit of us winning that first phase.
Yeah,
It really wasn't.
not
Like looking
really.
back at it, you're
Honestly,
thinking,
it was.
it looks good to say, oh, we won, most of our games, all that sort of stuff. But in the end,
Yeah.
we faced one of the most informed teams in Europe right now.
And you
They've
got
got a front three that are playing sensible in football. They're free flowing. They're scoring lots of goals. They're undefeated in the league.
yeah,
They haven't lost a game since November, which I think
yeah,
was, of course, we beat them. But prior to that, it wasn't until I think November when they faced Bayern Munich in the Champions
mm,
League. So they're a formidable team. And in terms of Van Dijk and his comments, like I'm not, I do want to make it clear, I'm not having a go at Van Dijk in terms of what he said or anything that even the video that was circulating. I don't think there was anything to it. I think he was just probably just having a chit chat with them.
yeah,
But it does worry me in terms of you know we believe that these players are loyal to the club, but the thing is, if they're not being offered anything, you can't blame them for pursuing other clubs or having discussions with other teams.
yeah,
And I'll be honest with you, and I probably shouldn't be saying it, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. If Van Dijk isn't offered a contract at Liverpool, PSG would easily offer him, big money, like whatever he wants, like 500,000 a week.
yeah,
But the thing is, PSG now, I feel like it's probably a more appealing project than it has been over the years, which is crazy to say because you had the likes of Neymar, Mbappe, all those star players, and Messi as well in previous years.
yeah,
But this team looks quite special to me. It's an actual team. They play as a unit, and they're
yeah,
young and up and coming, and they might just be a couple players away from being, unstoppable.
yeah.
If they added a Van Dijk to that backline alongside
The
Marquinhos or
experience there,
Sancho,
boy.
the experience, he would literally help these other young players evolve in that team. So, you can't just dismiss the fact that just because he's our captain, we expect him to sign. If we haven't offered him a contract, we haven't offered him the terms. That's what's that's what's really concerning me because he doesn't need to go to a Saudi. He doesn't need to go to that part of the world. He
He's
can stay in Europe and play for a PSG. Real Madrid, I'm sure, would show
exactly.
interest in him. A Barcelona, that these teams will easily try and acquire his services. They'll bite their hand off to get Van Dijk. So I don't know what FSG are playing at, but it's a concern. And the Trent thing, I don't know with the Trent thing. If it's announced that he's leaving Madrid, it's not going to be a huge shock to us or anything to that nature. We kind of half expected it. The Salah one is very much up in the air. Like I have no idea what's going to happen, but I am concerned about you know our captain and our talisman in Mohamed Salah, and of course, you know a generational talent Trent possibly leaving the club because whatever happens in the end of the season, I'm expecting us to win the league. Of course, we've got a huge point gap. Of course, we will talk about the game this weekend. There's another, way of winning us a trophy, so we can win 2 trophies this season. But when will that happen again? What if these 3 players left?
Exactly.
You can't replace those 3 players like that. We're not blessed to just splash out 100 mil on each player. We're not going to spend money like that because
Thank
obviously
you.
these guys are leaving on a free. They're not. We're not regaining any sort of transfer fees from their departure. So that's what concerns me looking forward, where we've got a team that's, I think we've got a really solid team. We just probably need 2, 3 players to
Yeah.
make it complete. But if you're getting rid of 3 players and then, the project ends up being bigger and there's question marks for me on a lot of players now. I don't know how you feel. So I'll mention names and then you can tell me if you have the same concerns. So, like Nunes, I'm sure you agree. For me, he's just not good enough to be a Liverpool
Yeah.
striker.
No. 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 No.
But
He's not. He's not gonna.
Jota
Not. Not
is a concern for me now. I'm
big.
not gonna lie
Big.
to you.
big Nunes up for the goals like
Yeah.
Newcastle last season, Brentford this season. He obviously set up the half yearly goal, but he's missed way too many chances, and he gets mollycoddled by sections of the fan base on social media.
Oh, I have no
Um,
idea why that is the case,
it's really
honestly.
weird because when you look at some of the strikers that we've had, right, like
Yeah,
going back as old as we are, right, we've had Rush, we've had Fowler, we've had Collymore, we've had
yeah.
Owen, yeah, all these guys. We've had Torres, obviously.
Suarez.
Barosh and Heskey had their phases, although we would have liked them to. But then again, Heskey was lumped out wide, right?
Yeah,
So we've had Suarez. Yeah, we've had actual a brief period of Morientes, though he didn't really hit those heights he did
no,
um, at Madrid or anything he did at Valencia or even when he was on loan at Monaco, etc. Right?
yeah,
But we've had top strikers like, and then Sturridge as well. But then because Sturridge would catch injuries, you'll get people hating on him fans hating on him on social media. But a man who, though he's been fit a lot of the time and quite durable,
yeah,
has missed chances, but gets more love than some of these others do. He gets more love than Jota. And look how many goals Jota scored for us. But what I will say in this system here, because you asked, is Jota is the next player there,
yeah,
usually, even if you don't get the link up play, because don't get twisted, he can thread some brilliant ball shotter. You'll still get the goals when he gets your chances. But even this season, when he has got chances, he's missed some good ones. Even the only league games lost this season against Forest, point blank header from that great ball by McAllister
yeah.
on the outside of his foot, and he didn't
I
score.
remember.
But now he's struggling to keep up with the pace of certain attacks. And when he does make the run, we're not finding him. He'll make a run and try and move in the box, and either Salah puts his head down and then can't play the ball in, or when he does cross it in, it's ahead of Jota. And then on the other side, you've got Diaz going this one way, going the other way, and not really doing anything, or end up
Uh,
passing it backwards, or not shooting when he has the chance, etc. Because you never know, Jota's a good one to get a rebound if a shot comes in and what. It's just like so. Me, I've been a Jota guy from he was at Wolves, so I'd keep
yeah,
him. But in terms of the way Slot's thinking, if we are going to go and replenish the team as we are, he may be enough one. Nunes, I think definitely he's not
yeah.
touching my slot, but Jota is the first time you have to question
You do,
um, his status as a Liverpool player.
you do,
Sadly,
you do. Um, no, I definitely agree with his sort of his position has to be questioned now because, and I don't mean to be rude when I say this, I just feel like the injuries have caught up with him. Like you can tell he's not the same player. Like I'm not basing this on like the last few weeks or anything like that. Like over the course of the season, even when we started this season, Jota was our starting striker
yeah,
on a slot,
yeah,
but he wasn't really banging the goals. Like he wasn't really clinical the way we
yeah,
expected to
no,
see him over the years. So
yeah,
obviously injuries, yes, he's very injury prone, but I feel like the forces of different injuries that he's picked up over the years is definitely hampered his way of playing now. I don't feel like he's sharp on the ball. I don't think he has the same awareness. I
no,
don't feel like he's sort of dynamic enough to make those clever runs that he used to do in the past. So it's a concern. But the thing is, we've got owners who don't do that sort of business. We don't just like sell a lot of players and bring a lot in, if that makes sense. We probably had that one summer where we
yeah,
brought in quite a few, but there was a lot of deadwood at the time, so we had to kind of
yeah,
upgrade in that regards. And obviously,
yeah,
the Coutinho money definitely helped out, yeah, with that. But I'm concerned. I'm not gonna lie because for me, there's question marks on Jota now. Nunes, as you said, I've been saying it for a few months now, maybe but even longer than that. He's sort of pretty much destined to leave. Diaz is a bit of a questionable one for me as well because
yeah.
I like in terms of what he does, but sometimes I do feel like he's a bit clueless on the ball.
He
Like
can be, he
the
can
runs he
be,
makes,
yeah. He can be
doesn't
really
know what he's doing,
frustrating.
you
He
know?
can be really frustrating because he has the
Yeah,
ability to take people on the outside, get to the byline, but he only does that sometimes, not consistently. He sometimes, as I said, he's dancing around on the ball and then ends up playing it in field. So when we've had people forward and anything quick, you're going to
yeah,
get in behind the last line of defence. You've ended up passing the infield, And then when Robbo sometimes overlaps him, he doesn't find him, or even underlaps, he doesn't find him either. Which is why he had his purple patch in the nine. Well, we say purple patch, but then again, it wasn't really. It's just the fact he's really effective because his movement was pulling some defenders
Yeah.
away. Gakpo's been far more productive, much better output on the left hand side,
Consistent,
and
for
it's
sure.
crazy. And it's crazy now. You're seeing in some of the games recently that Gakpo not being there, you're noticing it more than when we've played
Yeah,
without Salah, which
yeah,
is sounds crazy, but
yeah,
Cody will shoot with,
yeah,
on site, and
yeah,
he's got a decent ball in him. He sometimes clips one ball, curls the ball to the back post and overhits it. But
yeah,
his productivity and the fact of his height as well, when he doesn't have the ball, he makes that run that I love. That when he runs in from his inside forward position. So when the ball comes in, with his height, he can score headers, etc.
yeah.
as well. Diaz isn't bad in the air, but doesn't make those same runs.
No,
And so, look, I've got mad love for the guy, but
yeah,
again, I'm not. I wouldn't cry like I would for Jota. I'm more fan of Jota.
yeah,
I wouldn't cry if he was sold, especially as the fact that I know that he has said things about playing in Spain, and his dad is always twerking for Madrid or Barcelona when he
Boston.
talks to Colombian media or
Yeah,
whatever. But if we can get decent, because Diaz is he 27 now, or is he
yes, I think.
28? Um, we could get if we can still get decent money for him, then I would do it. I'm so obviously it was a hoop dream because of the money he's on the PSG, but David Ornstein got us excited for no reason when he said we were putting the feelers out for Kavicka. Can you imagine Kvaratskhelia in this team? Team
Bro,
low
I did a
stakes.
whole dedicated show because of that rumor. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what? This summer, I think, regardless of what happens with the contract extensions or not, it's a big summer for us. And which is crazy to say because we're on the verge of winning the league. And of course, we've got a chance to winning some silver this weekend as well. But it's a huge, huge summer for us in terms of the long-term future of the club because there are a lot of areas where I don't feel like we're solid, and it's really weird to say out loud because we're on the verge of winning the league. But there's
Yeah,
certain areas where I feel like we need to improve. We need to kind of, you know, protect in terms of our long-term investment in certain
yeah,
players, or there's players that are approaching a certain age, or approaching a certain stage in their careers where, we have to think about being an understudy for them. So maybe
yeah,
like the types of like Robertson, for example.
yeah,
I think bringing in a young left back to learn the trade of him would be the smart thing to do.
yeah,
And we've got Conor Bradley. Like if Trent goes or not, I'm assuming he's leaving, and I'm not saying I want him to leave, but
yeah.
that is the assumption. It'll be interesting to see who do we bring in. Do we promote Bradley and just bring in another player of his ilk, or bring in someone that's a bit more bona fide and
This
has
is
the
what I'm saying.
quality?
It might have to be the latter. It might have
Mm,
to be the latter. It might have to be someone more bona fide because Conor Bradley
mm,
is very, very good, but
mm,
people talk overwhelmingly some of these Muppet top reds, right, as we call them on social media, like he's far superior to Trent defensively. But what people have to realize is that regardless of who plays right back at Liverpool,
yeah,
they're going to overload that side because it's the side that Van Dijk started. So anyone could struggle there, and we do sometimes see Bradley get caught out. Again, referring back to that Forest game, him and Gakpo could have done better on that Hudson-Odoi goal. You get
yeah,
you get what I'm saying.
yeah,
So yeah, I don't think it's as clear cut in terms of the defensive aspect as they say with him and Trent. Don't get it twisted. He looks more active and on it consistently because sometimes
yeah,
Trent just looks like he's jogging around. But when Trent is tuned in, he's not a bad defender. But it's that sometimes you see, even in games, he seems like he's distracted
yeah,
by something else. Sometimes when he's not in to defend, like he was much better in that second half of this first leg against PSG, for instance, after a tricky start.
yeah,
But so yeah, it might be have to be someone might leave Conor Bradley still as the backup, but he just get more games because Trent is Trent in it in terms of the
yeah.
delivery
I agree.
and some of the passing and the crossing. brilliant, but he's been struggling. He's been carrying an injury in from the Euros, which is
Yeah,
why he's had to miss games here and there. And I don't think we've got 100% from going forward, but um, he has carried out his responsibilities at the back more than some would make out, and that was why, especially early on in the season, those clean sheets were flowing. So it's worrying. It's mad, isn't it? Champions, and we're sitting there. The position,
yeah,
the least worrying position, goalkeeper. They've already brought a backup there when we've got the best backup in the Premier League in Kelleher anyway. So it
I
makes
know.
no sense to me. Yeah,
No,
flipping right back might be needed. We've said their left back. Regardless of what we've done this season, we needed another centre half anyway.
yeah, we did.
You get what I'm saying? Because look at what we Endo, who's not trusted in his natural position, is having to come on and play in defence how many times
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
in League and Cup, even if it is just him coming on as a substitute. So yeah, it's annoying. So that's why I said this is why it's so imperative that
Yeah.
we've taken advantage of this window because it might only be a one season window. I'm not a fool. I'm not going to sit here and think, oh, we won the league. Oh, we could go back to back. We
No,
could do a three-peat. Nah,
no,
mate. Take this one and then see what the summer gives us because I'm really worried and it's annoying because we should be sitting here on top of the world, but we're thinking
yeah,
about oh next season, oh
yeah,
contract because they get asked it in the post-match interviews as well. So you can't even sit there and just enjoy the win without any form of negativity.
no. This is always going to be in the back of our minds, and until we don't get any sort of resolution with regards to the contract extension, because that's one part. But then at the same time, when we do have the conclusion of the season, what's next? Because we've watched big teams over the years where when they've been at the top, they've made sure that they've continued that momentum by adding quality into those
Yeah,
squads. We haven't done that under this ownership. So for me, this summer, honestly, I'm gonna sound probably dramatic when I say it's make or break. It really is for the long term future of the club. If we don't invest this season, it's gonna be a long one for us. Honestly, like
no,
last season, we only bought Chiesa, and I'll be honest with you, I feel like he's on the way out anyway because he's been fit since the Plymouth game.
yeah,
He's not had any game time whatsoever. So for me,
yeah.
the writing's on the wall that he's not got a future at the club either.
Yeah, that was a bad game for him against Plymouth,
It
but
was
that that
bad
that
against the
is
lot, man.
yeah that is the only one that I can say has been bad because I like his hunger and doesn't stop running, etc. So, but we all know what we've both been fans of him for many a year, and even he's another one because we, as you pointed out. When the first show we did, we've been doing this for five. I've been coming on your team for like at least 5 years now. But
Yeah,
the first show we spoke of after buying him, you're pointing out that how much he played in the nine for Juve. Sots
yes,
not even tried it, bro. Because
yes, not
Diaz
once.
Diaz has covered up a lot because Diaz started off the season like he was gonna get like 20 goals in all competitions this season and it's died down heavily, right? After
Yeah,
he scored uh what game was it? Was it the it couldn't have been the Brentford game, surely, but he went 3 months
yeah,
without scoring a home goal.
yeah.
It was and in fact, I think the only league goal in that was the away goal against West Ham.
Yeah,
So the hat trick against Leverkusen in the Champions League covered up the drop off, the
yeah, yeah,
dramatic drop off
yeah,
in the league. And when he's had a fit Chiesa recently, he's not even bothered to try that. So
no,
now we're sitting here, we're thinking that, oh, look how many points we're clear. I understand do it as soon as possible, concentrate on
yeah,
the Champions League, but now it seems like we've almost sacrificed our Champions League place because we didn't rest more people,
yeah,
and now we're out. And now we are out. Um, so
very,
yeah, it's 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 sad. And the thing is as well, are they going to try to make money off of the players that are coming back from loan, like Ben Doak, or are they going to give them an opportunity? Is Jaden Dan's going to be sold, or is he going to get an opportunity? Kane
yeah,
Gordon is to come back as well. The likelihood is they're going to try to sell these people and then end up not using the money and just sit there for injuries to come and because
yeah. Because last year that was the case as well. We sold a lot of our sort of young fringe players and made big profits on them. The
yeah,
likes of Berg went for 30 mil, Carvalho went for around the same fee as well, but we didn't really invest in the team. So it's one of those ones where I feel like we really need to invest in this summer. And
Right.
if we don't, then you know who I'm going to be pointing the finger at. So if things aren't being done, then it has to be spoken about out loud. But we'll see. Obviously, we've still got a couple of months until the season concludes. I'm sure we'll be doing some transfer shows towards the end of the season because it's a big talking point. I think in terms of what happens with us at the end of the season, but also what happens with some of the players. We'll get a bit more clarity at that
Yeah.
time as well. So what we'll do before we move on to our match preview, let's go through some of the comments. Um, Dara, big up Dara says, "Hi fellas, when did you both start following Liverpool? So when did your love for Liverpool start? Double D.
When I was like 4 or 5 years old, man, I started with Liverpool because
Yeah,
back then, because obviously you got that one match on a Sunday on the match on the ITV, and obviously
yeah,
because of how good Liverpool were, they'd featured a lot. I saw John Barnes, and that was a wrap for me.
play.
That was. I used to actually think I was John Barnes in the playground.
We all did. Yeah. To be fair, I think I was a bit of a late comer. So I started supporting Liverpool. I say mid 90s. So I was probably about 8 or 9. So I'm probably revealing my age now. But
Yeah,
so yeah, mid 90s. The first sort of match that I remember is not a great one. Is
yeah.
the FA Cup final between Liverpool
Ah,
and
God.
United. The
I cried. I
infamous.
cried, bro. I cried. And I watched that game with two of my closest mates. One's an Arsenal fan, one's a Man U fan. And when Cantona scored, I went out the room to go to my mum in the kitchen. I just started crying. I thought, I'm not going to give these men satisfaction and cry in front of them. You get what I'm saying? That was the last time I cried about football, man.
I remember going into school like the few days later, and I was like, "Ah, do you know what? That player, he brought him down." I was making all kinds of excuses again. Yeah, man, there was like bare obstruction going on, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, so that was the infamous final. Where, of course, we wore the cream suits and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so it was iconic for the wrong reason. So yeah, I've been supporting
Spice Boys,
teams.
baby. Spice Boys.
Spice Boys, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, midnight is for me, man. So yeah, it's been a long time. So of course we've gone through a lot of ups, but we've gone through a lot of downs as well,
Downs,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah, so we've been there through thick and thin, I guess. So it's how it goes. Liverpool fans. Go Ratio, big up yourself. Go Ratio says, "Hello. I just watched the highlights PSV versus Liverpool. Well, to recap, Chiesa involved in both goals. That's the thing. Double D just kind of touched on it. The Plymouth game was probably one where we'll put it to one side because that was a poor showing from Chiesa, and I think the whole team that played that day. But
Yeah.
whenever Chiesa has made a few appearances here and there,
Just
there's
hungry, bro.
something there. Like he'll do something, but it's like do a bit more. And I just don't feel like he's been given enough chances. But
That,
I'll be honest with you, I just don't feel like the coach ha- likes him at all. I don't think he fits in terms of what he wants. For all we know, he might not be sort of like the personality that he wants in the team, but also in training, he might be a different character where he's too chilled, he's too laid back, like he's not really
yeah,
putting in the work,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
that doesn't rub off the right way to a coach. The coach wants you to, grind and make sure you're putting in all that work and making sure you're playing at a good intensive level. And if you're not showing that in training, we also suggest that you're going to do that in a match. And I
yeah,
think that's how Arnold Slot is a bit more old school in terms of how he views his players. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those ones where I don't see him having a long-term future at the club. I expect him to leave in the summer, and it could be where we signed him because he was available on a very cheap deal,
yeah,
and we could probably flip it now and make more profit. It
yeah.
sounded like a
Low risk. It
business
was a
thing,
low risk. It was a low risk signing
very
it, but
low risk.
I just think the hunger that he showed, he deserves more of an opportunity. William Runner
I agree.
shoots a lot as well. And I would think he would be a good team guy because when someone scores and he's on the pitch, the way that he celebrates. So the thing is as well, he spoke really highly of Liverpool before even signing, man. There's that
Yeah,
infamous interview when
yeah,
they ask him who's the best out of Gerard, Lampard, and Scholes, and he says Gerard and goes on to explain it and whatnot. You get like so, yeah. I've actually said don't know if I trust him, but the thing is what I look as a weird one is that Slot has called out Nunes for like a
Yeah.
lack of effort, etc. So it's the ones he doesn't talk about as much, like the Jotters, like the Chiesas. He has spoken about Chiesa being injured or whatever. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like, is that your subtle way of
Yeah.
trying to weigh your covert way of just trying to say that, yeah, because you're not
He's not
even
the one.
addressing them, that, yeah, it's done for them or what?
Mm,
But
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah,
It feels like it. The Nunes one was. I'll be honest with you, I think the Nunes one was a slight surprise for me because it was a little bit more direct. The
yeah,
Chiesa one was a
yeah.
bit more subtle. Like you know, he's
Yeah,
you
the
know
case
he's
one was subtle, yeah, subtle, but yeah, the Juno's one direct
mm,
and deservedly so because Darwin will speak out. You can clearly see because he thinks
he's telling
he's
everyone to shift over there. You know.
yeah, he thinks he's better than he is. Do you remember
Yeah.
when we lost to Everton at the end of last season? Him and Klopp were having a back and forth. And Klopp was telling him to be quiet because I think he
Relax.
was
Yeah.
complaining
True.
about starting or whatever, you know. So yeah, it's
We'll
mad.
see.
Man. Look at it. You'd think we're 10th in the table the way this has been a
I
really
know. You know
almost
what?
melancholic podcast so
No,
far.
this is what the club does to us. Like, you know, like you said earlier on, we should be on top of the world. We should be like, I know we lost midweek, but we should really have a lot of confidence going into this fixture. I do have confidence into this fixture, but I'm probably looking at the bigger picture because, you know, we've got a 15-point gap. You know, we're on the verge of securing the Premier League title, but I'm thinking, you know, I don't want to feel where I'm celebrating this league title and it's like I don't even know when that next one's gonna come
Yeah,
because you know generally when you've won the league you're gonna go in harder for the
yeah.
next season. I, I I've got a sporting director who for me is a fraud and I don't know what he's gonna do. So until he shows me anything, I can't have any confidence about the summer. If I'm being honest with you.
What he'll probably do this summer is buy a player that he bought for another, that he helped negotiate for another club and get Kirkens. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, you've really pushed the boat out there, Richard. You've bought a player that you already knew
You
about before.
bought
You
for
get
you
what
know
I'm saying?
previous things.
That you bought for
You know
the
what? And it's ironic because we've been linked to Pekes, we've
yeah.
been linked to Huysen, the centre back, we've been
You've been
linked to
linked with
Semenyo.
Semenyo.
So we've been linked to a lot of those players. And probably Clive will be the next one on the list now. So you can't rule it out, man. You will see. We'll see. The jury is
This
still
guy,
on
you
the
know,
ballot now, you
bruv,
know?
all it is, we went with our tail between our legs to get
Trust me.
what's his face back.
Zumendi.
What? No. What's his name, man? Edwards, to get Edwards back, right?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
he rejected us at first, but
yeah.
we've gone back in for him. And then he thought, oh, let me just send my mate Richard to do the job
Yeah,
for
that's
them because I
true.
don't want to do that same job anymore. You get what I'm saying? And then this is the consequences of that whole thing. What we have, yeah, what we got is the whole thing. You've got someone in there who the job he hasn't proved yet that the job
No.
might be over his head. And then Edwards' main thing, they've wanted to secure another club, haven't they? They wanted to secure another club
They haven't
to
done
get
that yet.
hold of under the thing and whatnot. It's all mad, bro. It's a mess.
Man.
Like,
That's the thing. What we're doing on the pitch is like it's probably above what everyone is expecting.
yeah,
But elsewhere, it's like we're not ironed out right now. We've got a lot of like loose ends. We need to try and polish that up and make sure we're we're ready. Because if we address these positions that we spoke about earlier on, long term future wise, we're good. But at the minute, I can't really say that confidence. But of course, we're thinking a bit too further ahead. But yeah, I'm sure we're doing a lot more shows regards to transfers, and hopefully, I'm happy to back my words and say, you know what, Richard Hughes, you proved me wrong. Like you signed this guy, this guy. I would
yeah,
love for that to happen, but at this stage, I very much doubt it. But let's go back to the comments. Goal ratio says Plymouth senior players were babysitting. Yeah, they were. They were doing two part-time jobs there. Goal ratio was saying Diaz has 13 goals, which is crazy. It doesn't feel like I feel like Diaz just had that purple patch where he scored a lot of goals, and
yeah,
that's his main tally now. Gakpo's had 15, but Gakpo's one is a bit more consistent where I feel like it's been a bit
yeah.
more sporadic.
Because Diaz, Jota, Salah started the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Backpo finally got his took him out on the left. I wanted him to start the season on the left, and he
Yeah,
took it with both hands, man. He's just become a key figure.
I agree. It definitely has. Salah has 21. Salah's played more, but yeah, of course, Salah's the main man. Salah's the one that gets all the goals.
Oh,
Um,
goals from open play. Okay,
Goals not even spread played.
because I was going to say
Um,
Salah's got 27, but yeah, sixpence.
Yeah, six pens as well. Gakpo has the best goal ratio, followed by Jota, then Salah, and
Then
finally
finally
Diaz.
Diaz.
Yeah. And then the final one from Goal Ratio. Big up, Daz. I can see your comments, but I'll bring that up when we're doing the match preview. Goal Ratio says Chiesa hasn't really played with first team, like only 24 minutes over 3 games. Yeah, I know he hasn't, but that's what we were saying, alluding to earlier on. We want him to get a bit more game time because I said in my match preview last week for the Southampton game, if Chiesa doesn't play, he's not going to play. That was the game where you rotate your squad and play players that haven't been involved in recent weeks. That
Yeah,
was a perfect game for Chiesa to play. Playing against the bottom team of the league,
yeah,
no huge pressure. Like he could have just had an average game and it still would have been, momentum for him where he's had some game time and he'll be,
yeah,
a bit more sharper for the second leg. But I think Slot showed his inexperience in that PSG game where he didn't rotate against Southampton.
yeah,
I think that was a really big deal. And I don't feel like a lot of people believe it, but I think it was because like you mentioned earlier on, Double D, PSG rotated and they rested about 7 players.
yeah,
We went strong. We treated it like a cup final. So we
yeah.
went really strong in that game. And it was evident in that
And
game,
you
with
saw the start because he would have been hoping that that first half was so lackluster, it was so complacent.
yeah,
And if you have the Endo's in there, Endo's coming into games off the bench and he's flying into challenges. You get what I'm saying? If you've got Endo in there, if you've got Harvey Elliott in there who always passes the ball forward,
yeah.
could have killed these guys off early.
I
Instead,
think Endo
Salah,
and Elliott were perfectly suited for that Southampton game as
yeah,
well because Endo, like he's been given a lot more trust,
yeah,
and we can see what he brings to. And in those type of games, I'm not trying to say Endo a low level player, but against those type of teams, they're going to be a bit more physical. It's not going to be a technical game. So
yeah,
when you've got Endo who's so strong and robust in those kind of positions, that's the perfect player for those type of games.
yeah,
And with Elliot as well, you need a player that's a bit more nippy, that's trying to thread that through ball in a very sort of low block sort of defense. And that is what Southampton would have played with a back five most of the time. So you
yeah.
needed a player like that to bring on.
And you know,
So I,
and you
honestly,
know
I
that.
feel like, yeah, sorry.
No, go on, sorry, yeah, go,
No,
no,
I was gonna
finish,
say,
bro.
so for me, it's like it just showed a bit of inexperience, and I also feel like when players say, "Oh, one game at a time," I feel like he took that a bit too literal. That was a game where you
Yeah,
need to rest, you need to rotate, and trust your players. I know he doesn't trust all the squad players, and it's quite evident because we've run Gravenberch to the ground. We've not really given him the chance this season to really flourish. Well, we have, but he's not really been rested because now
yeah,
I say the last month or so, he looked really jaded. He's not really energetic. He's not ball carrying that he normally does. So, this is a learning curve for sure in terms of Arnold Slot. But the PSG one for me, Luis Enrique was just, a bit smarter, where he
yeah,
knew when to make those substitutions and who to take off and who to bring on. Because taking away, the penalty takers for me, I understand a lot of what like McAllister, of course, he was on a yellow. So Bozai looks knackered, but I don't know. I probably would have kept on Szoboszlai for another 15 minutes because it's one of those games where we were cruising. We weren't really trying to get a goal. PSG were the ones that were really trying to attack. There's Desiree Doué, who had a great cameo when he came on. He was
oh
the one
yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah, yeah. First
really
leg as
trying
well,
to make things
dangerous guy,
happen.
yeah, man.
Yeah, so he was a dangerous one there. So, but we have to move on in terms of it is what it is. And I'll be honest, I think they fully deserve to go through. They were the far better team in the first leg.
Yeah,
Second team, we were probably good for one half, but
yeah,
I think they still showed their dominance. They still showed a dynamic way of playing. But the midfielders that they have, for me, they were real technicians, and that's something we
yeah,
lack
yeah,
in our team.
yeah,
Where we can be strong and physical, but you need to have technique. You need to have players that are just holding on to the ball for 90% of the time. You need those type of players. So, but it's a good learning curve. I think onwards and upwards, I guess. But yeah, we'll see what happens for the rest of the season. And a comment here from Goal Ratio is Salah has 11 pens this season in all comps, over a third of his goals. Now Salah's broken the penalty record for the league, and he wasn't even on penalty duty when
when
Milner
Milner
was
was
about.
about.
So yeah, that's a fair point there. So let's move on and do our match preview of this one. So quick analysis on Newcastle. I'll discuss their recent form and their path to get into the final. In terms of the path to get into the final, it's not been an easy one for Newcastle. They beat Forest 4-3 on penalties in the second round, and then they beat AFC Wimbledon 1-0. Then they beat a strong Chelsea team 2-0, 3-1 against Brentford in the quarterfinals. But the biggest win out of all of those was that huge win over Arsenal in two legs, where they beat them 4-0 in aggregate. A remarkable journey for Eddie Howe and his boys. But in terms of recent form, in the last 5 games, it's been a bit of a mixed bag for Newcastle. They won twice, 4-3 against Forest and 1-0 against West Ham, but they've also lost 3 times. They've lost 4-0 to Man City, 2-0 to us, and they recently lost 2-1 to Brighton as well. So they've not been the most consistent team in recent weeks. So I'm hoping, of course, as a Liverpool fan, that that plays a part in this game ahead. But Double D, what have you made of Newcastle this season? And do you think they have a strong chance of finishing in this top six or top four, maybe even?
The yeah. The look, only injuries here at the back end of the season can derail um, these guys. They can be physical in the midfield, and they've got Joe Linton back. Anthony Gordon will be a big miss for them, but I like the club. I've been an Eddie Howe fan
Yeah, you have.
from way back,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
we've spoken about that
Mm,
on here also, but. They've had a couple results where you're thinking, but for instance, they they seem to respond well. Like that was a massive win against West Ham. To be honest, the
yeah,
game wasn't anywhere as exciting as I thought that it was going to be, but they, but they got the job done. They got the job done at the
yeah,
end of the day, and it's one of those ones where. I'm a little because Isak's fit. I'm
yeah,
more skeptical about this final as than I
yeah,
thought than I thought that I was going to be because even without Gordon there, I just feel that Ibu should be fit to play because he was saying it was more cramp than like an
yeah. It's
injury.
fatigue. Yeah.
But he's got that moment in him, and Virgil sometimes can have those lax moments. So
Mm,
what they showed us, the 2-0 game, they showed a couple of promising attacks, but we dealt with them quite like comfortably in the end. But the 3-3 draw showed that if you give these men any space in the midfield, they can break quickly. And
yeah,
Harvey Barnes, though Gordon scored some brilliant goals, like Man City last season, for instance, Harvey Barnes, if you let him cut off that left, can
yeah.
really ping it, right?
He's a similar type of player, isn't he? So he's gonna
Yeah,
do the same sort of thing that Gordon would do on the left hand side. So
yeah,
he might
yeah,
not
yeah.
be more so productive in terms of the
Gordon better at carrying the ball,
yeah,
especially against the
exactly.
high line. But Barnes doesn't really care about that, trying to go past someone. He just wants to cut in off the left onto that right foot and
Yeah,
hit it. But I think they're a good team. Lewis Hall being out is massive because I
it's
think
massive.
he's been the best left back in the league
He had a
this.
good performance against Salah a few weeks ago.
Yeah. He did well. Yeah, Salah only got past him once, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? He did a good job, and even he spoke earlier in the season about he sat down with Eddie Howe about improving his defending, especially one-to-one defending, because Hall primarily is more a left wing back than a left back.
but
So
he's been good this season.
him playing in the four this season, you've
Yeah,
really seen how much he's emerged, and yeah, he's doing his thing. But yeah, I'm a fan. I thought he looked really good when he was at Chelsea. But no, they're a good side, and we're going to have to be at our best to beat them. Hopefully, Salah breaks that open play goal duck in the cup finals. But we have to be because they're a good side. They can be physical, but they can pass it about when needed. Break. Fabian Schär can ping it out from the back, pass
yeah,
it well. Dan Burn is more cultured than you think at 6'7". Liverpool's going to have to play on the left now with Trippier on the right, so you're going to have to
yeah.
watch out for Trippier's delivery. One thing is that if he keeps Pope in goal, I think we could get a Pope. Since he's come back from this injury, he's looked
He looks
really
a bit
shaky.
shaky.
And the
I
defence looked
agree.
more comfortable with Dubravka there. And I actually think they would have picked up more points if it had been Dubravka's still in goal rather
Yeah.
than since Pope's come in. Um, even though one of the games he made a mistake in against Forest, they got the 3 points in. But they're a good team. They're a good team. I think they'll get into Europe via the league this season. But the big thing for them is whether or not they can keep hold of Isak and Bruno Guimaraes. Isak's been dropping comments that he wants to play the Champions League consistently. So they're trying to say that that was his subliminal call out to Liverpool. I'm not sure about all of that, but you get what I'm
Thing
saying?
is,
But
we're not the only interested team.
oh,
That's the
exactly.
worry for me because you've got PSG, ironically, that are linked with him as well. Real Madrid are linked with him. You've got Arsenal in terms of our league.
Yeah,
So it's
I
not
don't.
going to
I
be
don't
a
think
straight
Arsenal would
shootout.
pay. I don't think Arsenal would pay the
I
money
think
that they want, though. I don't. I
they
don't think they'd
they
pay the
wouldn't.
money that they want.
But can you imagine him in the PSG team or even a Real Madrid team? Because that would
Yeah.
just they would
Oh,
just yeah, they
Real
would
though.
change
Nah, I don't
change
think. I
it.
don't because of Mbappe down the centre. I don't think that the Real team could run. But you never know. You never know.
Never know.
Yeah,
Because it might allow Mbappe to play a
yeah.
bit more wider. Yeah.
Newcastle fans did think that they when the money first came in, they were drafting teams saying they were going to get Mbappe anyway. You
Well,
never
they
know.
might do something.
You never knew Sopnil, yeah, Sopnil.
Never know. But you know what?
Oh,
I've seen online where people saying, "Oh, we can do swap deal with Nunes or Jota," because Jota's been linked with Newcastle. Funny enough, today as well. So I don't know.
I prefer.
It's one of those ones where
I prefer Nunes
is
to
he
go.
the prime striker that we need to be going for, or do you think there might be other names out there that you're thinking, do you know what? If we can't get Isak, maybe we can get one or two others that kind
Uh,
of fit the mold that we need
in
to take the
terms
team
of
forward.
the cheaper options, um,
Yeah,
first of all, if it is down, they proper get what slot would want because
yeah,
sometimes committee or whatever they'll just buy the player because as you were insinuating with Chiesa, you don't know if that was necessarily like how heavily on the slot was involved in that, right? So in terms of who can link the play and can play the nine, all three of them surprisingly are in the Premier League. I think João Pedro,
yeah.
Cunha, or the aforementioned Isak. Um, others about Gyökeres, isn't it? I've been talking about Gyökeres since he was at Coventry. Gyökeres, and I think he'd bring something different because I think he can bring some elements, not quite as fast as him, but I think he can bring some of the elements, the chaos that Nunes can bring. But he's a better finisher, and that's what
Definitely.
we and that is what we need. Strong boy can shoot off of either foot. You get what I'm saying? So I'm trying to think of other ones. I don't want Sesko, but that might be someone
Yeah,
that
he
they may
doesn't
look
move
at.
me at all, if I'm being honest with
I'm
you.
I'm trying to think of like in terms of yeah, but because Cunha I think has got 62, 63 million release clause, so that would be
Oh,
more
does
right
he?
up our street. Because he just had a new deal with it, and I think that was
Fine.
just in like to insert this clause in there.
Yeah, fine.
Um, I'm trying to think of other people because we wouldn't go rogue. We wouldn't go rogue because if you just want a bags man, Pavlidis Benfica, I've been talking about him since he was at Arsenal Alkmaar. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, we could go rogue and just get a goal scorer who, just because of the fact of they're not that name, would be content to start the season and sit on the bench. If it is a case where Jota or Nunes, sorry, not Nunes, Jota or Diaz are still at the club and they are fit and they're going to start in the nine. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't always have to be a big name. It's about who will put the ball in that.
yeah,
Remember when
that's
we
true.
first bought, I'm, as I said, a big Jota fan, but when we first got Jota, people were a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people were, to be fair. It's
And
true.
then look at all the goals he was scoring at the start. Like he was coming off the
Yeah,
bench, he scored against Arsenal, West Ham, Sheffield United.
he killed it.
Um, then
Yeah,
we played Atalanta, didn't we? Later on in the Champions League, he bagged a hat trick in a 5-0
mm,
win, and then people got on board. I was already on board anyway. So it doesn't always have
mm.
to be the biggest name. It's just someone
No,
who's
it's
going
true.
to get goals. You get what I'm saying? Get goals, man.
It's true. That's the thing for me. The prime target, of course, has to be Isak. I think and it's not just because he's like the flavor of the month for some people. For me, he ticks all the boxes that we need in our team.
Yeah,
But I just don't know how realistic it is, and we've got to be honest as well
yeah.
because he's not going to be cheap. He's going to cost at least 100 mil on top.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
exactly. Because they paid about what 57, 60 mil
they
for
pay
him, so they're obviously
50,
going to
60 million.
want
Yeah,
they're obviously going to want like he's proved like
Yeah,
he's probably even proved closer to 150, but because of
exactly.
PSR, you have to be realistic in terms of to figure out.
Yeah,
Now, I think 110 million
yeah, like
minimum.
kind of
I think
warm
he's
on.
costing.
That's and like if we are genuine sort of like contenders for him, then of course I'll be over the moon for us to sign. But I've heard comments where we're showing interest or we're only going to bid if we think he's attainable. That's not the stuff I want to hear. Do you know? That's not really
Bid anyway,
positive.
force their hand, make it uncomfortable up there.
Yeah,
Because
like
if they
they're
don't
not.
get in champs, because obviously top five could get champs this season, right? If they don't get champs, unsettle it. Sometimes you got to.
Yeah,
Well, they say play dirty, but it's just playing, isn't it? It's just doing
no,
it.
but
Like
that's how
people,
the big boys do it, no?
yeah. Because
The big
people
boys
look,
do it.
it's not like we're openly coming out in the press and saying, "Yeah, we're going to bid for him." Like, look at Ebert over. Look at Bayern. They're talking about Florian Wirtz like he already plays for them. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? They're making
and
him
I've been doing that
uncomfortable.
for years. They've been doing that for years.
They've been making, and Barca have done similar things. They're making them
Yes,
uncomfortable. So doing it, put the bid
yeah.
in, and then
You got Real
I
Madrid
mean,
players talking about the
Isak has said,
target all season round. So
yeah, man.
it's how it goes, isn't it? So got to act like a big club sometimes. We don't. We're a bit too humble when it comes to these kind of things. But hopefully, we're proven wrong. But for me, if it wasn't Isak, because if I'm expecting us to spend in terms of, but I don't know. I don't even know what the budget is. But if I was to be like speaking like a dream world, I like Alvarez from Atletico. I
Oh,
think
Alvarez is quality, but again, they paid what 80 million,
he paid like
75, 80
80 million
million
for him,
for
didn't
him
it?
from Manchester City. So then again,
Yeah,
that's
I
going to
know.
be Isak money. But Alvarez is G, and again, perfect because he's one of them ones where he can rotate and float around
Yeah,
the
he'd
forward
be the
line.
perfect
You get
one.
what I'm saying? It's a finisher, bro. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's got more to his game as well. Like he can play different roles, like
Yeah,
different sort of, like places in midfield.
Raspadori at Napoli, another one, can play anywhere and float around that front
Yeah,
line and a finisher. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, it's true,
but
man. We'll see. We'll see what happens in terms of our future targets there. Just got a
if we're
few more
gonna go,
comments.
if we're gonna go young, I want that. Is it Diao at Como? Yeah,
Oh, he's the winger, right?
he can play anywhere, like in the front line, but
Yeah,
like he
yeah, yeah, yeah.
played the nine, but anywhere like in the front line. Like
Ah,
I'm saying, is it like
yeah, yeah. I'm
finisher
familiar.
potential?
He was at Betis last season, wasn't he? He
Yeah,
predominantly played
yeah,
on the left wing, but
yeah,
for Como, I've seen him play on the left and the right. So he's an
yeah,
interesting one to be
yeah.
fair. I think Brentford were very close to signing him last summer, but
Okay, okay.
that never happened.
Yeah,
But that's definitely one to look out for. To be
yeah,
fair, just gonna go through some comments. Daz, big up Daz. He said, "Big up Ozzie and Double D. Big up
yeah.
yourself, Daz."
Big up,
He said,
Daz.
"Do you risk Darwin or
Agree with
Jota?" We'll touch on that very very shortly, Daz. So
you. We're
we'll
about
speak
to
about that
do
very
that.
shortly.
That segment. Yeah,
Gorage say we'll be interested to see who is playing right back and right centre back. Yep, we'll touch on that very shortly as
yeah,
well. Newcastle won Iron Cup, other on top five. Yeah, I think for them, like if they were to win this is silverware. Like this is the
yeah,
kind of things
yeah.
you want to achieve in the season because finishing the league in the top five or top six or however you want to phrase it is good, but you want to add
Trophy.
silverware
Because
to
look at
it just
to
cements the
be
season a bit more,
to
right?
be honest. If we were still in champs, I wouldn't begrudge them if they was to win it. But now we're out of champs.
We
Go
need
and
to
take
focus
these
on
guys' heads off, man.
we need
Because we've won
to-
it twice in the last 3 years. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like
yeah, it's
they
true.
need a
True.
trophy. They've got the trophy for how many years now? I'm like, no, done their dance, bro. I'm not
We
like
need to get
I'm in a
make it
bad mood, so everyone gets it when I'm in a
trusty.
bad mood.
Make it three in a row, man. Make it happen. Uncle Ross says, "Yo, my Rose, big up, Uncle Ross. Appreciate
Big
you
up,
coming on.
Rods. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for your comment." Uh, Gold Rachel says, "Delat and
I,
Cunha, we bro."
you see, goal ratio. You see, last time I did a pod with Ozzy, I did actually mention the lap's
You,
name
you
because of
did,
the sheer fact that he can just. It brings another dimension in it because he roughs people up. But don't get twisted, he's better with his feet than you'd
yeah,
think.
he
Because
is, he is,
look at the goal against Villa when he
yeah.
did the
No,
double
he's,
step over and banged it on his left foot
yeah,
on Diego Carlos. You get what I'm saying? And
yeah.
he's what
No, he's,
21, so he can learn. So someone like that, if Slot was to get his hands on them and give the direction, you'll see a lot more finesse to his game. But
yeah,
and we put crosses into the box all the time. That guy is a relentless header of the ball. So yeah,
yeah.
City seriously looked at bringing him back until they realised that their bid for Mahmoud that Frankfurt would accept it. City because obviously
Uh,
they got first refusal, buy back one of the two on him. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
Okay.
and again, it's a signing that teams might not like. I'm sorry, not teams. Fans might not at first be wow, but in
Yeah.
terms of his age and whatnot, the profile for me, that would make sense. Him and another one. You get what I'm saying? So him because he's a direct line, and then Acuna that can play in varying
Yeah.
roles. You get what I'm saying?
I think,
That for me would make
yeah.
sense.
I think it depends on what business we do. Like if he was the only number nine that came through,
Yeah.
then for him it would be a lot of
It would be
pressure. But I
underwhelming. It
think
would be underwhelming if he was the only
yeah,
one.
it
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
underwhelming. But if it was like Isak and Dilap, then you can kind of
Then
say,
you're
oh, do
talking.
you know what? It makes sense, right?
Then
So to do
before
that
that
for me
Champions
as well.
League game, you
Yeah.
rest Isak
Yeah,
because he
it's a
picks
good
up a
one.
lot of injuries
Yeah.
anyway. And then,
Yeah.
you get me? Come on, you
That's why
get
I
me?
said question marks on Jota because for me, if like obviously I'm going way ahead, but if we were to get a player of Isak's ilk, you have to rotate him. They can't play week in, week out. So you've got to have someone that's an understudy that's ready to come in and be impactful.
Yeah,
You know, with Jota, in terms of ability, we know he's a serial finisher, but the injuries they're coming up, they're piling up on him now. So for me, like, can you rely on a striker like that? Because if he's not fit, then you have to try and makeshift players across the front three. So we'll see
yeah,
what happens for us. But Dilap, I'll be honest, I've watched him a bit more. I think since we had our last chat, he looks decent, man. Like
yeah.
the way he plays on the shoulder, like he's
Yes,
so quick.
exactly.
He's so quick,
He's
and I feel like he has. Yeah, go on, sorry.
as soon as the ball crosses the halfway line, he's
Yeah,
just on it.
he's
He's on the
on it.
shoulder, and
Yeah,
he's willing to get a yellow because he's always
he's a
trying
good
to
finisher.
knock a defender and finish off. And some
Yeah,
really good goals this season, man. Really
yeah,
good
he's a good
goals.
finisher. He's underrated, man. He's a good finisher. He's definitely one to look up. I think some will definitely sign him. I don't know if it'll be Liverpool, but I definitely
Yeah,
think he'll move clubs
and it
in the
looks like
summer.
they're going down. So it's not like they paid 20 million for him. I
Yeah, that's
think so. If
peanuts.
they go down, 35 million, they'd probably
You get
take
him easy.
30, maybe
Yeah,
even. You get me? So yeah.
yeah. Well, Rachel says Issa looks like a pick ready to be snapped. Not sure if he fits our system.
Oh no,
I disagree with that.
he would want a line that can link the play as well as getting the
Yeah, he's a
getting the
strong
ball.
fella. Trust me. Because for me, in terms of the league, I think he's the one that's posed the most threat on Van Dijk and Konate. So for me, it's not just down to his speed. He is quite, he might look slim in terms of his physique, but he's
Yeah,
very strong on the ball,
yeah,
and he can definitely, use his speed to his advantage, attacking the channels and stuff. So for me, I believe, in my opinion, I think he does fit our system. I think he's that number nine that we want, that killer in front of goal, but he can do the other work as well. He can drift out to other channels,
yep,
interchange with players if needed, because he can easily attack from the left or from the right. Because a lot of the goals he scores, he tends to go a bit more to the left.
yep,
He likes to like pushing that shot in the bottom corner, like
yeah.
that Thierry Henry used to do back in the day. Like
Henri, yeah, yeah,
he's got that technique to the T. So for me, he's definitely one to look out for. I think he's definitely one that we are dreaming of right now. Whether it happens
yep.
remains to be seen. So what we'll do now is we will present a graphic and then we'll go through our predicted lineups. We'll start with the away team. I think it'll just be easier to discuss them and then we'll delve into Liverpool a lot more heavy. Um, so let's bring on. So that is the Newcastle. I'm expecting them to play 4-3-3. Are you in agreement or do you think they might go with a different system?
The big games they've played this season, they have kind of resorted to a
Okay.
five at the back. But I think because it's a final, they'll be a bit more adventurous to go to win it. So yeah, we'll go with 4-3-3.
4-3-3. And even though we spoke about Dubravka being the more solid keeper, I'm expecting Pope to start. He's the number one. So it's just one of those things where unfortunately Dubravka had to make way for him rather
Yeah,
than, stay in the team on merit, which is of course unfortunate for him.
yeah,
Uh, we touched on earlier on, Lewis Hall is injured, so he's not available for this fixture. So it'll be Livramento. That's the one I think me
yeah.
and you agreed that will be starting on that left
Yeah,
hand
yeah,
side.
on the left, yeah,
And then you've got Trippier on the right hand side, and
yeah.
then the centre back remains in. You've got
Share and burn unless one of them
Van and
pull up.
Shaw.
Yeah,
on the double over there. Sorry. And then you've got the midfield. So Gourmet. Oh, why have I?
Yeah, the names
I'm
aren't
doing
even
the.
the
I'm
names
doing the. I'm
the
doing the
names
wrong
the
graphic.
the names aren't even coming up on the
Do you
on
know
the
what?
image.
Let me. Do you know what's funny? I'm doing the wrong. In the wrong graphic. Let me pull it. Let me pull it back up. So it's not Dubravka. It'll be Pope. Um, in the middle, and then let me
Yeah,
just quickly put them on. In terms of the midfield, who do you think they'll start with? Because they've not rotated that much, but you've seen the likes of
I think it would
Willock come
be
in. You've seen Joe
yeah.
Linton played there. You've seen Miley played there as well. So who do you think will
I
be
think it would
the
be
midfield three?
I think it'll be Bruno, Joe Linton, and but then sometimes they've put Joe Linton on the left of the front three. Um, but no, I think it
Which
will
could
be
happen as well because
I
remember Anthony Gordon is suspended for this fixture.
yeah, but I was gonna go with Barnes in the three with Murphy and Isak, but sometimes
Okay.
they've played Joe Linton on the so maybe it might be Tonali, Miley, and Bruno. You know,
So you think Miley will play in this one?
possibly. I'm thinking in my head he might look at Barnes. I'm not sure if I have confidence in Barnes to start him, so it might be a Joe Linton thing on the left hand side of the front three, and with Murphy
What
and
about
Isak.
Willock? I had Willock in my team. I thought maybe
You got
Willock would
Willock
have
in
got.
there. Okay, yeah. Willock or Miley, either or. Yeah, we could go with Willock.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I just got into that he might
They're
be
both fit.
utilizing this one just for his like his um his athleticism because he's box to box, left footed as well, so might add a bit more balance on that side. And who do you think will play on the left wing? Do you think it'll be John Linton or do you think it'll be Barnes?
I think Joe Linton. There's no way Joe Linton doesn't start this match
Yeah,
because he's
exactly.
that thug. You'll be looking for him to rough us up and try and get
Yeah,
one of our team booked. So I'll go with him there. Otherwise, I would have gone with Barnes on the left. But
yeah,
I think because it's a final, he either resorts to a back five or he takes precaution in the midfield and he more precaution in the midfield than he would in the league game.
yeah. And on the right side, I'm expecting it to be Jacob Murphy, or do you think it'll be someone else?
No, it'll be Murphy, I believe.
Yeah, he's been one of the unsung heroes, you know. I feel like he's been really
His G&A per minute is
yeah.
better than Gordon's. Right?
He's-
Um, Jacob Murphy. He's one
yeah.
of them ones where he hasn't got a sexy name, so pause. So yeah, so people don't celebrate him like that, but he scores some banging goals, comes out with some really
Does,
good
you know.
assists.
Even
Um,
shooting him, you know. He can hit that ball. He's
he
not
can
shot
smash
him.
that. He can smash that ball,
Mm,
bro. You get what I'm saying? If he was foreign, the way people will be gassing him, you get what I'm
Mafinho, if it was
saying?
Mafinho, then we'd be talking differently right now, you know. So you know what I mean? So, but yeah, but I feel like those are the players you need in your squad. Like, even if Newcastle were to buy like a right winger in the summer, which I think is probably one of the areas they will try and recruit,
Yeah.
you've still got to have Jacob Murphy in your squad because he's the one that will give his all
Yep.
whenever called upon, and he's just like all in all, like Newcastle, you know. So it'll be a good player for them to keep, I would say. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's going to be a tricky one because I don't think left back is one of our secured positions, and I feel like
Nope.
he will cause havoc because he's not doesn't need to always be direct. He can, you know, whip in crosses
Yeah.
from a deeper position as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Who worries you in this team? Like who do you think is going to be the danger man? Is it of course it's probably
It's Isak.
Isak, isn't it? So, yeah,
Isak is Isak, bro. Isak's dangerous. But obviously as well, if we allow these lot to pop the ball around, Sandro Tonali has the ability to control the whole tempo in the
yeah,
midfield. That's a proper midfielder there.
yeah,
Um, and obviously Bruno is an underrated passer of the ball as well.
yeah,
Um, Salah's going to have to try his best to get Livramento. He's going to have to try his best. And whoever plays on the left, I'm hoping it's Cody, but it might be Diaz. Get at Trippier because he's the type of person you can get him booked.
yeah. True.
But Trippier's set piece delivery as well, vital.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that
especially
pitch.
from
You get
direct
what I'm
free
saying?
kicks or even
Yeah,
corner kicks. Like
yeah,
he's quality.
yep,
So
yep, yep, yep.
gotta
And
be gotta be
share,
defensively sharp with those
share,
moments
and you
there.
take risks coming from centre half. You've got Dan Burn, obviously a set piece threat. There's threats all over this team. There's just
John can
threats
score
all.
some bangers as well, so you gotta look out for him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Liverpool will have a pop. Like yeah, Murphy, as you discussed, will have a pop. There's threats
Mm.
all over the team.
There's threats everywhere, it's true. And Tonali's been so industrious for Newcastle this season as well. I feel like he's someone that's gone a bit under the radar, but I feel like he's definitely sort of lived up to his reputation prior to when he joined Newcastle. So yeah, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for us. So what we'll do now, we'll move on and then we'll present the Liverpool line. I'll try and get on properly this time. There we go.
Oh, that's what I was checking.
This
I mean,
one's sounds
I
good
knew I
now.
took him for a reason. I was seeing whether or not Miley was on the bench or not in when they played
Uh,
Newcastle on. Sorry, when they played West Ham rather on Monday. I was thinking I picked up my
yeah,
phone.
they played on Monday. Yeah,
I was thinking I picked up my phone for a reason. Yeah, Miley was on the bench. Yeah.
he was on the bench. So he's been sort of in and out of the team, but whenever he's called upon, like he's like chipped in with a couple of goals. So
Yeah,
he's
he's a
definitely
good
a player that
tidy. Yeah,
can.
he's a good tidy little player, Lewis
Yeah,
Miley,
he's
man.
tidy. He's tidy. So yeah, let's see what happens for Miley in that fixture. Now, in terms of Liverpool, it has to be Allison, right? I know a lot of people tell me that this is Kelleher's tournament. This is Kelleher's Carabao Cup. Like we're gonna play Allison and go, aren't we?
I think Kelleher. I think Kelleher will start. I think as
Do
he's
you?
been the cup goalkeeper, yeah. I think as he's been the
Mm.
cup goalkeeper, because what I was thinking was that if it was a case that Allison was going to be in goal for this final, then I thought Kelleher would have started against Southampton because I thought that we would have made more. Uh, we we would have rotated more. So I
Yeah.
think I think that it's going to be Kelleher in goal.
Okay, that's interesting. I thought he would have gone for Allison, but I'm gonna put Kelleher in there.
Yeah.
Um, Not that I don't have any trust in him, 'cause I think
So if
I
this is
think.
indeed his last season at the club, then
Do you think it
he
is?
goes out with a
Quickly,
bang. I
do you
hope
think
it's
this
not,
is?
but unless we
Yeah.
think, I want us to loan Mamadash to Valencia for at least another 2 years. You get what I'm saying? Because of how big a fan I am of both our goalkeepers. But if he's coming next season, then obviously him or Allison will have to go. And sending Allison, especially after performances like that in the first leg against PSG, I don't know if I'll watch next season, mate. Unless we bring in all the people we've been talking about, like the Isaks, etc. You get me? Hato, you get what I'm saying? Or Hato. I mean, like,
Because the thing is, with Mamadashvili, he's not had the best season at Valencia as well.
no,
So
but
I think I touched on it earlier on, like like a few months ago, where I was like, "Do you know what? I know we've secured his signature, but that doesn't mean that he's definitely coming next summer. Like it's still something that can be sort of discussed because
oh yeah, of course it can.
for his development, like he can still continue to be there for another season, like what Courtois
Yeah,
did at
yeah,
Chelsea.
yeah,
He was
yeah, yeah. For 3 years he got
for three
Courtois got
years.
loaned to Atleti. Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe when Allison is ready, then we've got a ready-made replacement. So it's like it's it's a shoo-in where we just literally bring him in and then he's number one. So he doesn't need to come in or he needs to try and sort of adapt to filling up his sort of boots in that regards. But then again, do you know what I would consider if we were to sort of loan him out again? I'd loan him out to the Premier League because he was linked with Bournemouth last season, and I think a Premier League move might suit him as well, where he
for
gets
him
used to playing
to
Premier League
acclimatise to
football.
the league.
Hmm. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Because with Valencia, just they're not dominant right now, so it's like different sort of pressure there, and I feel like La Liga is quite different to the Premier League in terms of being a goalkeeper. So
Yeah.
you know, we never know. Well, I'm probably going to do some transfer shows in recent. I think we've got international meeting next week, so I'll probably do some transfer related shows, and we'll discuss this a lot more in detail. Um, so let's start with the backline. Goal ratio asks us who starts at right back for us. Who do you think we're going to go for?
Oh God. Quanta.
Yeah, it's got to be Quansah. I don't think there's many names out there, so it's got to be Quansah.
Yeah, well, look, oh, bless you.
Unless there. And do you think Kanate will start or
If it's just
I think
cramp,
it's right.
if it's just cramped, then yeah, I think he
Yeah,
starts.
just a bit of fatigue, It'll be
Though
fine.
he, though he partially annoyed me with that on the Paris Saint-Germain goal, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think when he did it, I thought he did enough. But then with Sabozlai, I'm not blaming anyone, but with Sabozlai being there, it kind of added a little bit of confusion to who's going to make that clearance. If it was just the keeper
yeah,
and Konate, then it might have been a bit more of an easier sort of clearance for Konate to make. But yeah, I felt for him because I felt like he thought he did enough, but yeah,
yeah,
unfortunately, it wasn't to be. So,
yeah.
so yeah, he'll definitely start. I don't. If it's fatigue, then just give him a Red Bull, give him a Lucas, he'll be fine. He'll be up and running, so he'll be good to go. Um, Van Dijk, of course, I don't need to debate about that one.
Virgil.
Who's starting left back for you?
Ooh. I think Robbo's going to get the nod, you know.
Yeah, I think so though.
I wouldn't mind if Zimbek started because it could be one of them games where Zimbek has a set piece delivery, which at the moment is superior to Robbo's. Robbo's not got an assist this season, has he? Even though he's recently put in some very, very good balls in open
Yeah,
play, and people haven't been put in two really good crosses like back to back yesterday. Like he put one in, got cleared out, came back to him, put one in, and was shot to score. So I'm going to go with Robbo, but it wouldn't
yeah.
surprise me if Zimbek has started. But
Mm.
you get me?
Goresh has presented the question: if Ibu isn't fit,
Yeah.
what do we do?
And then Endo's gonna have to
Endo, isn't it?
play.
Yeah,
we're not blessed
Endo.
with we're not blessed with defenders, bro. So Endo's gonna have to play, bruv.
Yeah, he'll
Because
be
you
in there.
fully well know a fit Joe Gomez starts this final, but
Yeah.
it is what it
And
is.
that's what happened in the PSG game as well. Kwanzaa playing right back, and then Endo came on to replace Konate. So Endo
Yeah,
ended up being centre back, and then we had Kwanzaa at right back. And I thought Kwanzaa did a great job at right back as well in that
yeah.
game. So,
He's
so
going
yeah,
back in confidence, which could only be a good thing, you know.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Double pivot. Is it going to be
Yeah, the
Alistair and Green?
Mac
Yeah,
um,
Gravenberch,
gravy bolts as one
Gravy
scores
Bolts.
him.
So that's our double pivot right there.
Yeah,
I don't need to debate who's going to be on the right wing, so let me just put him there quickly.
yeah,
Szoboszlai
Mohammed.
as well, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Got to have him
That,
there.
that would be
Uh,
that would be too rogue for
yeah,
uh him
I
to
just
play
got to
Elliot.
be.
I'd love him. I'd love him to do it though, because
Yeah,
imagine bringing Dom off of the bench after an hour with his
yeah, that's true
energy.
though.
Newcastle would get cooked.
It's true. But I think if Elliot has to be involved in this one, because I feel like coming off the bench will be impactful as well. Because I just feel like he's that
Bro,
very interesting player.
he always passes it forward. Harvey, he always keeps it ticking over. In fact, in
Yeah,
Europe, in terms of the under 21s in Europe last season, there's one data. Is it MB Data or something? There's one data Twitter site that always puts up in terms of under 21s in Europe last season. The only one to make more forward passes than Harvey Elliott was Florian Wirtz. And when you think of the fact of Wirtz's minutes, like he starts all the time for Leverkusen and Harvey doesn't for Liverpool, that just goes to show you all you need to know. He comes off the bench, and as soon as he comes off the bench, you immediately see the change because he's always looking to play the ball forward. If he can't, he'll drop it sideways, but not a normal like sideways pass. It will be one that, in terms of puts the person in the position to do something. It's not just laying it off or going backwards for no reason. You get what I'm saying? And that's why tempo changes over. And he really, really, really should have got much more minutes, man. But
I agree.
you know.
Do you think he has a long-term future at the club? Because a lot of fans are suggesting that he might be on his way out.
He doesn't want to leave, so unless he's forced out the club by slot, he's not going nowhere. He's supported Liverpool since he was a kid. He's willing to fight for his place. You know what I'm saying? And I think Slot has seen that if one thing he's been taught is that to rotate more, but obviously he doesn't trust people because even I think he played the occasion a little bit against PSG because even he said in an interview that this is like the biggest game of his managerial career, though he's won leagues and whatnot, in terms of he's not been this far in this position in Europe. So I think maybe that caught him, but
Yeah,
he's the way he
possibly.
talks, you could tell he's smart enough to learn from his errors. Um,
Yeah,
and it's been
he's shown that
his
across the season. To be fair, he has learned from his like the Ipswich game. Of course, Kwanzaa came on to replace Knight, so
yeah,
he was just in regards to that, and then of course, the Forest defeat as well. I feel like that really woke him up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah, yeah,
bring in
because
players that came from South America, put them in the lineup straight away because
yeah,
that didn't help him that
he
day."
went. He went even that, and also as well. Even when he made the subs, remember he was all into a three at the back, and the three at
Yeah,
the back had I can't remember if it was Simicas or Robbo at left back that day. I think it was Simicas and
mm,
Bradley, and they were two. So you've got two fullbacks in the three. So obviously, as soon
mm,
as they got the ball, it was Elanga on the right and Hudson on the left, and we always looked vulnerable when they
yeah,
countered because those fullbacks are obviously naturally going to go forward. So that the one time he's got it overwhelmingly wrong, like not overall, comprehensively wrong,
yeah,
is incidentally the only league game we've lost this season. Uh, so his in-game management is why we are where we are.
yeah. It's
Because
true.
we win,
You-
it's football's a results business, and he makes the tweaks to get the result. Whereas other people
yeah,
are watching, they're thinking, "Oh, like I don't like the football, and you not play, or blah blah blah." But we're playing winning football quite clearly. We've won the most amount of games in Europe's top five leagues.
yeah,
So obviously you're going to have wins like the Paris Saint-Germain one where you don't dominate the whole game, but you still get the 3 points if the opposition doesn't take their chances.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I hope it's Gakpo on the left, but I don't know.
I would love it to be Gakpo, but he looks so unfit against the PSG. I don't think he's ready enough to. I don't think he's ready to start a game. So for me, I'd go for Diaz because of the analysis we gave earlier on, where we expect Trippier to start right back. So we need to have someone that's going to be direct, who's
Yeah,
going to use their speed to their advantage. I think Diaz would be the better one. If Gakpo is fully fit, I'd actually go for Gakpo on the left hand side because I feel like Gakpo is very quick, but he's more efficient on the ball. He's more calculated. He's got more game intelligence in terms of whipping in crosses at the right time. Diaz can be, a bit on a mazy run and just doesn't know what to do next. Like, he can be a bit more uh, erratic in those kind of moments. So I would love it for it to be Gakpo, but I think it'll be Diaz. What do you think?
yeah, because of how rusty he looked, it probably will be
He,
Diaz. Um,
I don't think he barely touched the ball when he came on. To be honest with you,
yeah,
he looked knackered after 5 minutes.
but Diaz, you got to like remember when you first come to the club, we played Chelsea in the final that we won on penalties, and he was cooking Reece James.
Yeah, he
That's
was.
the that's the Diaz we need to see on this big
Yeah.
Wembley pitch.
But he does step up in finals, so hopefully that's a good omen for us that he
Yeah,
does really live up to the plate when we play cup finals.
on
So
that big Wembley pitch, and then
mm,
that's what I'm trying to say. We have the opportunity though it's a final. You can
yeah,
start Kelleher, so you've got if you can start Zimmerkas, you can start um Elliot over Soberslide. You could do these things and then get the people on because finals are all about having something up your sleeve.
yeah,
Because it's an isolated football match. So Newcastle could dominate us like PSG did in the first leg. If they don't take the chances, then we've got the things up our sleeve to bring people on and to get the win. Because that's all it's about at the end of the day. It's a results business. So a
yeah.
one-off game, anything can happen.
No, it's very, very true. So put Diaz in for now, because I think that would be. I think both of us would
Reluctantly.
prefer. Yeah, both of us would prefer Gakpo, but we've got to be
Yeah,
realistic. I
trying
don't
to be
think we should
realistic.
leave him
Yeah.
right now. Who leads the line for us?
This is what the problem is because he's not a big Nunes fan. You're not a big Diamond fan, and Jota's off it. So surprisingly, in what might be one of his last acts for the club, I would you can book Jota in. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
It could be a it could be a Diaz thing. It could be or or do you know what he? Sorry, Jota thing. Do you know what he could do as well? That's just come to me. Like we were pondering over what Newcastle were going to do. He might start Harvey Elliott and play Dominic Somerset on the left and then play Diaz as the false nine.
Okay. Hmm. That's a
I don't
good
think he
shout.
will because I think tends to
Yeah,
look to do that more in where he thinks that we need to have another body in the midfield like Man City to run around. But he could do
yeah.
that because just for the sake of though that might seem more defensive at first, Diaz or Jota, neither of them are in form.
Do you know what?
So if
Another thought came to my mind as well. I think this might be a bit out there.
yeah,
I think Javier could start number 10. Diaz on the left, but
Yeah.
Szoboszlai in the middle. Because we did that quite recently, where he was the sort of
Yeah,
like
kind
the
of occupied like a full line running in.
yeah, basically
But
yeah.
then, yeah.
So
It
rather than
thinking about
Szoboszlai being a striker, he's actually we're basically not playing with a striker. We're playing with
yeah,
four attackers, like a 4-2-4 formation.
yeah.
So that could be something I think we do in the second half if we need to get a goal. But it's interesting though, in terms of how we could be. So I think that'd be a bit too attack
Free, yeah.
minded to do that. Um, I'm in agreement. I think it'll be Jota. I don't expect Nunes to start. I think Nunes would come off the bench as more of an impact sub.
Yeah.
Um,
But
Hopefully this is a
If
game
Slot's
with.
in ruthless mode, if Jota
Mm,
does what he's been doing recently, that could be a half-time substitution rather than one on the hour mark.
yeah, it could be. If he has zero input, then yeah, I can understand why Arsenal would be.
If he starts, he bags though. Jota, I've got
Yeah,
enough. I've got that much confidence in the guy. If he starts, he will bag. But
no, I agree. Oh, do you know what? There's one suggestion we never spoke about. Um, Darwin Nunes playing centre back. Could you imagine that?
there's some people that because of his endeavour, right, when he's proper on it and the way he runs, I don't know if you've seen people in jest calling for him to play DM on Twitter. This has been going on for
Yeah,
a
I've
while.
seen that. That's like, I'm like, what? I'm like so bemused when I see stuff like honestly. I'm like, yeah, this
Ah,
number loyalty for Darwin Nunes. I don't get it. I actually don't get it. It's like it's just way. I don't think there's ever been a player across like Liverpool over the years that has got so much like unconditional love and support. He can be so dead, but he'll do that one good pass, and you're hearing Nunes, Nunes. It's like he just passed him a 5 yard pass. You know what I mean? Crazy. And goal
Oh,
ratio says Darwin Nunes will get sent off playing centre back. Yeah, probably would probably headbutt someone or something to that nature. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I agree with that. Goal ratio says for me, I start Nunes, not Jota. Jota better as an impact sub for 30 minutes. Nunes to cause chaos. First, I wear them out. I get your thinking there. For me, it's the other way around. I feel like Jota's gonna be more of a focal point for us, whereas Nunes I prefer him as an impact sub. I feel like when he brings that chaos on, that's when things stretch a little bit. And as Double D mentioned earlier, we're at Wembley Stadium, so it's a bigger stage, it's a bigger pitch. So
yeah,
that would be the time to utilize it. Whereas I feel like play Jota to his strengths, where try and get him in front of goal or try and ping low crosses so he's not getting onto the end of it or even headers because he's very good in the air. So I feel like that's the kind of tactic we should go for. And then if we need someone to stretch the defense, because for what all we know, and Double D touched on it briefly earlier on, they could drop for a back five. So then if they've got a back five, then you need a player like Nunes to try and play on the shoulder and try and
yeah,
stretch that
yeah,
team. And then you've got a player like a Harvey that could come on and try and thread through balls
yeah,
for a Darwin Nunes in that moment as well. So, those are different kind of options, but I do feel like me personally, I always feel like Nunes has been better off the bench. I just feel like he's more impactful. I feel like maybe due to his personality as well, he's a bit more up for it when he's off the bench, which sounds weird to say. I feel like with some
yeah,
players when they start, they're a bit like, all right, fine, I'm gonna start, and he kind of buys his time. But then when he's from the bench, he's like an animal. He's like that goes in and he's just not messing around, 100 miles per
yeah.
hour. So I prefer him coming off the bench. Let's see if there's any more comments. Daz has said, "What would your bench be?"
Ooh,
My bench. So of course, Allison will be in goal.
yeah.
Jeez, we ain't got a lot of centre backs, have we? So uh, Simicas,
um, yeah. Oh, what's homeboy that
McConnell.
has been subbed? Keeps on getting subbed. The black human. He got subbed against PSV, and then he got
Oh,
subbed against Plymouth.
oh, is it Mbayo or something like that? I
Yeah,
think what colour?
something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think he'll get in the squad though.
that's more or less it. But
You
I
know
think
this.
he'll have to take a defender though, because remember,
Yeah,
well, I say last season, but that was Klopp, wasn't it? But to be honest, it's not like
Do you know what actually happened? I think
Marvelous.
for Slot, in terms of his sort of mental state, I think Endo will be regarded as a centre back on our bench. Does that make sense? So he's going to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah,
that backup, isn't it? So I think it'll be Allison, Simicast, it'll be Endo. I think McConnell, because McConnell plays DM, but he can also play right back. He's played there a couple of times for us. So he's a good player, I guess, to have off the bench. Then you've got Curtis Jones, of course,
yeah,
who will be very sort of important, I would say, off the bench. You've got the likes of Harvey Elliott, Chiesa,
yeah,
Nunes,
yeah,
and Gakpo. So nine
yeah.
subs there. So that'd be my bench. Am I missing anyone?
Um,
I don't think I am.
Curtis. No, because you said Endo was be one of the
Yeah,
defenders.
he'll be like a basically occupying two roles.
So
Horatio said Jones can play right back. That could be an option for us off the bench, but it'd be my last
yeah,
solution.
yeah, Jones can play right back still, but with his confidence being a little low after that penalty miss, that might be
Yeah, I don't want to put him in that
straight
predicament.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. So that is our predicted lineup. Why you got Chiesa on the bench? You never know. I'll be honest with you. I think he's more of a bench filler than anything else. 'Cause I don't think he's gonna get any game time. But I'm just a bit in the hope that maybe he's brought on and has some sort of game time. But we can all dream to some extent. Um, Slightly off topic, but I'll ask you the question: Robinson or Kirkes for you, Double D? If you had to choose between these two left
ooh,
backs, who would you sign for Liverpool in the summer?
probably Kirk is just for the sheer fact that he's younger,
Yeah,
so more room for improvement. But Robinson's having a hell of a season. Like
yeah,
he's got double
he is.
figure assists as well. Though two of those
No,
shouldn't
he's
even
cold.
count. That he those two for Iwobi against West Ham.
Yeah, I remember that.
Iwobi just basically put crosses into the box and no one's got on the end of them. They've gone in. But yeah,
Yeah,
Robinson's done really well. He's improved a lot because, as I've said, that guy used to get cooked on a weekly basis at Fulham, whether they were in the Prem or the Championship. But he's come on leaps and bounds, and a couple of times when Marco Silva changed the formation, he's had him in a more advanced role. Um, but yeah, no, I'll go with Kirkis.
yeah. For me, it's
Yeah.
Kirk. Kirk
Well,
has won me over, man. I've been very impressed with
that
him. I'll
that
be honest.
that that challenge or interception rather, because the ball was given away by Tottenham, and touch and then run and cross for Fing's goal against Tottenham, Tavernier's goal. Woo!
Yeah, yeah, that's cold.
Woo! That was
He's,
like
he's,
literally
he's done
that
that
was
a lot,
prime
man.
Robbo, bro. That was prime Robbo.
Do you know what? Do you know what? You've mentioned you've heard me mention Hato quite a lot this season. That's my
Yeah,
guy, yeah.
yeah.
But I feel like even though I really rate him as a player, I think stylistically Kirkis might suit us more because he
Okay.
reminds me of a young Robert.
Yeah,
That's the traits that I see in Kirkis reminds me of Robertson. So I feel like you know it could be where Robertson stays and kind of puts him under his wing and tries to let him learn the trick and trade of being a top left back.
yeah,
I feel like that could be a good way to try and bring someone into the team, but you know, I don't know. I say that, and then goal ratio says Simicast is boss. He is, but I just don't know if Simicast is the one that can be our prime left back week in, week out. I really rate Simicast, but I just don't think he has that consistency in him to be our first choice left back.
yeah. No, it doesn't. Just the same way, I doubt. I don't know whether or not Bradley is definitely ready
Yeah,
to
I agree with that
immediately
as
be
well.
the first choice on
Yeah,
the right. But
I
yeah,
agree.
um, yeah. Simicast may start. He may start. He's a solid player. He does a couple bozo things sometimes, which I think is
Yeah.
why Slot's been reluctant to use him. But I wouldn't mind if either will start the final, more so because I know Simicast's delivery would be better. But when Robbo's on it, he's still at this age he's on it even
Still good.
without the assists.
I agree. I think with Robert, it's just more so his sort of like defensive awareness has declined a little bit.
Yeah,
Where in terms of his positioning, but in one-on-one duels, I feel like he needs to be a little bit more sharper. But it's going to be a big summer in terms of who stays. Because for me, this is a debate I have been having a lot over the course of the season. We want the left back position to be addressed, but who actually ends up staying? Is it Robertson? Is it Simicast? I feel like I've changed my opinion quite a few times. So
Yeah.
um, when we sort of do sort of like a transfer show, I'll speak in a bit more detail. But yeah, it's a big debate. So let's see what happens for Liverpool going forward. But in terms of this fixture, Double D, what's your score prediction?
I knew you were going to say prediction. uh, let's be positive. I'm going to go 2-1 to Liverpool.
Who's your goal scorers?
Um, if that formation is the one up there that plays, I'm going to go Jota and Salah.
Okay.
But
And for
if
Newcastle, is it quite obvious who
if
scores
Jota
for them?
doesn't if Jota doesn't start, then someone's going to score. Newcastle. I'm actually going to go for maybe Willock, because we put Willock in our predicted team.
We
Maybe
did, yeah.
Willock, I think a Willock
Mhm.
or Joe Linton. I think and Isak sets it up. I don't know if Isak will score.
Okay, that's fair.
Hopefully they don't score at all, but yeah, just in case.
If he scores, that price is going to go up. To be fair, no. So for me, I'm not saying it because you're on the show right now. I've got the same score line written down as well. I think 2-1. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think it's going to be too much in it. Now, in terms of my goal scorers, I've gone for Salah and Szoboszlai. I've actually gone for Isak to score for Newcastle, but it's going to be a consolation goal. We're going to be 2-0 up,
Ooh.
and he'll score late on, like a tap in or something. That's going to be the end of that. So, yeah, fingers crossed. We get over the line and we can get the win and claim our first trophy under Onslaught, which would be
Come
a
on.
huge moment. But yeah, so that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Dara, Goal Ratio, Daz, Uncle Roz. Appreciate your comments and appreciate your
Big up,
engagement.
Rods.
As always,
Big up,
guys,
Dad.
if you haven't already, please
I
don't forget
appreciate
to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Double D, as always, a pleasure to have you on the channel as always.
it. As always, bro.
Please let the people know, where to find you on social, where to find you in terms of your content. And yeah, feel free to let us know what you got coming up.
Yeah, at Double D, Double D on socials. That's at Double D. That's DB. Oh my goodness me. DUBULDEE. Goodness me.
It's
DUBULDEE.
late. It's
You can
fine.
tell it's late, people. Very late. It's 1 in the morning. And I'm part of the D&D Football Factory. That's at DD Footy Factory _ on all the socials, and we go live with the Footy on Top show on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Top FM. That's 95.5 FM if you're in London, but probably best if you're not to download the On Top FM app, and you can listen to the show there, and all the recordings of the show go up on our SoundCloud. And if you're not on SoundCloud, then the playbacks of the show go up on under the No Choftes network. That's the NC network, which is all our anything that's any of you non-SoundCloud people, the shows go up on the NC network on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everywhere else. I'm trying to think of there's anything else. I also do a European podcast on the NC network as well with Coach Kojo from Free Midfield and Style of Play podcast as well. We just recorded one earlier actually. So this was a perfect time to get this preview done late here. But yeah, man, just always and I'm nagging Ozzie for us to get this wrestling pod started
You know what?
because
We're gonna have to.
I didn't even talk to you about the Madness at Elimination Chamber where we need to get it popping, bro.
Do you know what? We haven't spoke about it. Do you know what? That was probably that rivals the Hulk Hogan turning heel moment for me. Like that was groundbreaking. Like do you know what? I kind of saw it coming, and you know what? Remember we did the Royal Rumble prediction, right? And
Yeah,
I said
yeah,
Uso, right? So I'm
yeah.
I'm 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 getting I'm cooking something right now where I'm making this prediction now. So we've got to do WrestleMania one.
It-
Definitely. We'll do
I
that.
was Cena. To be honest, Cena in the press conference after the
The
post
Royal
show
Rumble, right?
after the Royal Rumble has
Yeah.
kind of been insinuating he will do what's best for business, but the way
Yeah.
they executed it was brilliant.
Yeah.
You get what I'm
It was
saying?
very
It
good.
was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Not sure about Travis Scott though. He slapped the hell out of John
Jesus, oh, I've got Cody, bro.
Cody Groves, isn't
I
it?
saw Cody's eye on SmackDown on Friday. Jesus Christ, he's cooked, bruv. But yeah, Cody will get him back before he drops that championship. We'll see. We shall see.
Because they're coming over Europe now, so we'll be blessed to watch Raw and SmackDown at normal times, not
Yeah,
like
no,
late night.
yep,
So
yep,
it'll be a nice one for us fans in the UK. But yeah, no, do you know what? We'll definitely do something. Whether we start a pod or we just do wrestling shows, we'll
yeah.
get something lined up.
Either
So
or. Yeah,
if
yeah,
you guys
yeah.
want that to happen, let us know in the chat. But yeah, me and Double D, we're big wrestling fans. Probably got into a bit more in recent weeks due to Netflix and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm all for it, man. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, definitely do some upcoming shows. But yeah, that is it for
Yeah.
today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all hopefully on Sunday as we're celebrating another cup win. Goodbye.